Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I would like to talk to you about the key fobs. Which one is better out of the recently reviewed value for money cars, including Chery Omoda 5, our MG ZST, and my Haval H6. Which fob is better and more functional? Let's just amuse ourselves and talk about it. So I'm not going to pretend to you that we are ever choosing a car based on the key fob, or not choosing a car based on the key fob if we don't think it's a good one. So let's drive straight past that point. However, it is still interesting for us to pause for a second and see how these things feel in our hand, how functional they are, because there is a certain philosophy, certain design philosophy that goes into the car, and that kind of tells you a little bit about how the brand is thinking. So first of all, Haval H6 fob. So this one is very functional, very interesting, plastic and a little bit of aluminum on the sides. Quite solidly built, nothing is creaking. It's a solid little nice thing in the hand, and the design that went into this assumes that you may need access to the physical key, which is you can move the latch here on the side and the physical key is ready to go. It's straight away right here, ready for exposure. You can use it straight away. So I like this bit. I like this simplicity of functionality. I like this spring-loaded kind of latch that allows us to very quickly clip it back on. Now, as far as to clipping it to your keyring, which is an essential element of that we kind of take for granted, I'm sure you would agree, on majority of our vehicles, there is one. You can just do your normal kind of keyring connection here on the top end, and you would be all right, my friends. As far as the buttons are concerned, buttons are very standard and interesting at the same time. What's standard? Well, the lock and unlock buttons are very standard, and automatic button of opening the boot, that you press the button and the boot opens as long as you have the powered tailgate option. So these three are standard, I'm gonna say. That's not gonna surprise us. The fourth button that Haval decided to implement here is the button that allows you to, some call it panic button. I don't know who would panic this weird way. Generally, what we would use this button for is to press it in case you are like me and you sometimes forget where you have parked your car in a big supermarket car park, for example. So you press this and the car flashes lights and scares everyone by beeping also incessantly, and like beep 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 suddenly, and some old lady might have a heart attack. So please be very, very careful when you press this button. That is what GWM Haval engineers and designers have thought that you and me, we would primarily need on our fob. Yeah, okay, now let's talk about this one. Let's talk about the MG ZST and MG HS fob. So here we have a little bit more kind of classic, slightly more curvy MG design that tries to obviously do a little nod towards its English-British roots, which I appreciate. I'm not mocking it. And they have only three buttons. They have just your classic lock, just your classic unlock, and just your classic open the tailgate, please, if it's a powered tailgate. All right. What is slightly more interesting here and somewhat exciting is the fact that if you can see here how the latch is made here on the side, this metal bit, you press this slightly concealed, very seamless button on the side, and it opens up like that. So it allows you to put the keyring, however large it is. My wife uses this large one. It's very weird. I don't use large ones like this. It doesn't matter. And then inside there is a concealed physical key with a little flat element as well that allows you to nudge the little cover that covers up the hole for the physical key to go in on the outside of the door. I'm not going to show you how to open it, but that's how it works. So you have this kind of detached, well, kind of ready to go, but at the same time not very ready to go key. That is the difference between Haval, and that is the difference between MG ZST, but the idea is the same. We have a physical key concealed, we have basic buttons, except Haval also gives us that panic/alarm button. Now let's take a look at the pre-recorded video of the third fob that we are reviewing today, which is that of the newest car in our lineup of the value for money cars in Australia, Chery Omoda 5. So take a look at this. It has 4 buttons as well. It has the opening of the tailgate, it has the closure, it has the open, close, open the tailgate, 3 standard buttons, but they decided to do something different with the 4th button here. And that button, my friends, is not a panic button, it is a remote start of the engine button that I have not tested, and I could go back to Chery and take a closer look at many elements, including this one, especially if you're interested. Let me know in the comments down below. But basically, you know how I translated the video where Russian mechanics have disassembled Chery Omoda 5, and overall the impression that they have shared, and I agreed with them, was that the car is not built, materials and how it's built, especially the wheels and the plastic insets and a few other things, it's not built for Russian conditions. It's not built for snow, it's not built for slightly muddier, dirtier, generally streets, especially in autumn, especially in winter, that kind of stuff, right? We all speculated that the car is just not going to last in those kind of conditions, and hopefully we never have to find out, because in Australia we don't have that problem. However, one thing that I theoretically agree with is the fact that if you have that 4th button on your fob and it allows you to remotely start the engine of the car, here is what you may never be exposed to, but trust your fellow friend Dmitry here, and I can tell you that in good old Russia or anywhere there in Eastern Europe with the cold winters, yeah, when you wake up in the morning and you live in a block of flats on, say, level 5, level 6 or something, if you had this remote start key with a separate button that allows you to start the engine of the car, yeah, and I presume is the key word, that there is some safety that will not allow some malicious dude to see the car starting but you not being there, and him running into the car and just hijacking it and driving off. I'm sure there is some simple precaution that the car will not take off unless it detects the key that's inside. I speculate, but I can only assume that they've done some precautions of that kind. Now, if I put myself into that thinking process of you living in a colder country or in those kind of conditions where you could, while finishing your coffee and getting dressed for work, you could go out to your balcony, stretch out your arm, and the car is parked somewhere underneath your block of flats or something, wherever you live, you remotely start the engine, the car starts warming itself up, it starts heating up basically the engine before you're ready to drive off. Because for a lot of you fellow Aussies, you do not know what it is like to have a car in winter, and maybe one sunny day I'm going to record a separate video where I'll share my personal experience, because I had cars in Russia before I immigrated years and years and years ago, yeah, and it's a whole fun / wow story that you would have no idea, right? I had to, spoiler alert, I had to heat up a kettle and carry out a kettle in the middle of winter to pour some hot water onto the bonnet of the car to de-ice it before the car could start properly. But we're not talking about those kind of extremities. What I'm getting to is that while I still maintain the position that Chery Omoda 5 is not built for Russian conditions generally, that button makes it a bit more suitable for those conditions if we had to compare fairly, because that remote start of the engine would allow you to basically heat up the engine before you take off. Because here in Australia, quite honestly, our problem is heat. Where would you and why would you want to use that 4th button ever to remotely start the engine? What? You're not going to remotely drive the car, and it's not like heating up of the engine is massively required unless you live somewhere in the bowels of Tasmania and it is like 2 days in the whole year when it was particularly icy and particularly cold. I'm sure you get where I'm coming to. So these are the differences in the fobs, but there is one final difference which kinda unfortunately disappointed me quite a bit, because I really want to like Omoda 5, and we'll talk separately about comparing Omoda 5 against its main competitor in this price range, and that is MG ZST and Haval Jolian, by the way, not Haval H6, that would be a bit unfair. But those cars, those 3 cars are on the same price category, and I would love to compare them. I would love to not just review Chery Omoda 5 like I did, but compare them in terms of what is the better value for money and the better car generally. But for now, all I can say to you is that these fobs that we've just reviewed, other than that button that is interesting but kind of unnecessary, yeah, on Chery Omoda 5, these fobs, they have the most important thing. It is the hook. It is the thing that allows you to clip the keys onto it. Yes? That is very important, and we cannot argue with that under any weather conditions, under anything. Now, brace yourselves for impact. From what I have seen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong, but I'm open to corrections. Chery Omoda 5 Fob, with all its technical marvel of a remote start of the engine button, does not have a hook. Any hook. It does not have it. I don't know what they were thinking, because the least that you would want to do is to hook it to your keys, yes? But they don't have it. They give you an extra button that is kind of cool. Oh, hey, would you like to see, son, how I start the car from the distance? But you can't put the key onto the key fob onto your keyring, or you can't just, you know, give it some sort of a hook so that you can hang it up like they do in dealerships. I'm sure that dealerships are suffering from it as well, because they usually have a lot of cars and a lot of keys, and typically they just hang them on a wall or something like that. That perplexes me. It honestly does. Once again, like I said, does it make the car bad? No, don't sensationalize. But honesty for honesty, this is something for you to pay attention to, and maybe to some of you it makes a difference. To me, it probably doesn't, but I also drive Haval, so I'm quite happy with the car, and I'm quite happy with my fob. And this is not about one fob better than the other. We're just comparing them because they, as I just described to you, they are quite different devices. This one is classic, functional, and doesn't have any unnecessary, arguably, extras like panic button or the remote start of engine button. The other two cars gave us those extra buttons for kind of no necessarily very good reason. One would argue that Havel's "Where is my car" button is a little bit more useful, especially if you're a heavy drinker and forget where you leave your car. But the not having a hook to hang your key fob onto, or to attach your key fob to your key ring, I don't know what you were thinking, Chery. I don't know what you were thinking. And if cars are still in production, and if you have other models coming to Australia, you know, like there are some rumors floating that we are not quite just ready to discuss yet. But if that is true, maybe, I don't know how much trouble it is, but please revise the design of the key. Because I'm not even going to go into the fact that there is no physical key. It doesn't look like there is a physical key somewhere there concealed in that Chery Omoda 5 Fob that I took a look at. I was looking for one, yeah. There is no keyring attachment, and there is no physical key in case something goes wrong with the battery and the car doesn't want to open. I encourage you to not discount Chery Omoda 5 because of that, of course. But I very much encourage you to have a conversation with people in the know, with people in the dealership, and ask them these specific questions. Ask them, what's up? Is there truly no physical key? And what do we do if the car doesn't open? And that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's all very trivial, and I'm sure that it's all very explainable, but this is something for me to raise awareness on, and for you to, you know, do your further research, because we all decide what's right for us. I hope you've enjoyed this, hopefully a little bit of fun, hopefully a little bit different, like good different video. And I also, once again, hope that you do like the new rebranded name of Value Cars Australia, because we do talk evidently about a lot more than just MG. Talk to you again soon about something else, MG, Chery, Haval, LDV, you name it, related next week. Like the video so that more people can like it, as this helps YouTube algorithm. If you're too lazy to comment in the comments down below, well, the least you can do is give me a quick like. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time.